Hey everyone, so I've got a bit of an opinion piece here today. Something I was thinking about the other day and felt like exploring more here in this video, and well, here's what it is. In games that support it and have a vibrant modding scene, possibilities are endlessly greater than what you can get in Forza or Gran Turismo. I was having this thought while driving an F1 car through the LA canyons in Assetto in VR, and that alone is an experience that something like Forza can't match. But then to push it further than that, 1 minute later, I could boot up Assetto into the mountains of Japan and be drifting in 8.6 down the Toge. So here's the question I'm asking in this video. Can AAA games like what comes out of Codemasters Studios or Forza or whatever ever truly compete with the old school Sims and their strong modding communities? So I want to start this video by picking two games to focus on, and if you know my channel, those will be obvious: Forza Horizon 4 and Assetto Corsa. Both, I feel, are pretty much the best, but definitely not only examples of each camp. Now we need to set up some categories so the two games can be judged in these different areas. Let's judge the games on graphics, user experience, basically just how user-friendly and intuitive the game is, driving experience, gameplay variety and customization, and fun. So 5 different categories here. Now, starting right off the bat with graphics. This is a simple category to understand, but I feel surprisingly difficult to judge. Now, I'm going to be approaching this video assuming that a lot of folks watching this might not be super familiar with Assetto modding, so I'm going to explain some mod stuff lightly, and apologies if I'm going over stuff you already know. That said, I want to explain that there are 2 very popular mods for Assetto called the Custom Shader Patch, or CSP for short, and Soul. These completely overhaul the lighting, graphic details, and weather in Assetto and make the game overwhelmingly better to look at, so just know that going into this. Now let's focus on a specific area of the graphics by going over car models. Horizon has a really consistent look. Every car looks great, accurate, and fits into the game's environment. Many cars are ported over from older games though, and just retouched with higher poly counts, and although some models do look wrong in comparison to their real-life counterpart, and some you can tell are definitely ported over, the overall quality of these cars both inside the car and out is very high, and the cars that were recently scanned and added new to the game look truly incredible. Obviously, poly counts could be higher, and some cars could use a rescan, but the only place I'm really going to fault Forza here is actually for the lighting. They just don't quite look realistic in Horizon's lighting environment, and this is where Assetto comes in because, funny enough, many modded cars in Assetto are pulled from Forza models. The difference comes in how they look in Assetto's engine, and I think they look so much better. With CSP and Soul and a good post-processing filter, Assetto's lighting engine is second to none, and can create scenes that are nearly indistinguishable from real life, where Horizon's engine, probably intentionally, looks a bit gamey and oversaturated. It's a good design choice, I feel, but means that unedited screenshots still look like they're from a game, whereas Assetto can pull a lifelike shot straight from the game. To keep on the topic of car models though, it is important to know that since not all mods come from the same author, some modded cars in Assetto just don't look good. Certain elements of the dash might not be animated, the driver position isn't always right, there's obvious clipping. This is a big advantage that you get in a AAA game where the art team is one unit with one high standard for each and every car. Now we've talked car models a bit as well as lighting, let's talk map. Horizon has one big map, or I guess 3 if you count the DLCs, whereas Assetto technically has hundreds. This is where I feel Forza honestly actually takes the lead in a big way. There are some seriously talented modders in Assetto that have created incredible maps, but there are just some limitations of the engine that you can't get around. Trees being a big one, and the fact that high poly counts and big sprawling maps like SRP can really bog down the game's performance. Horizon, however, again has that one art team and a modern engine that's able to make this beautiful map that looks great not just from some angles in some areas, but everywhere. If you look at screenshots from both games, even though Assetto in my opinion can look better, it's because the shot is often using heavy depth of field to hide the lack of detail in most maps. So cars, maps, and lighting, that kind of covers the majority of graphics, and who's my winner here? Well, it's Forza. Assetto can at times look entirely realistic, especially with good screenshots at the right angles with the right mod cars in the right mod maps, but Forza looks phenomenal all the time, everywhere in the map with any car. This one is seriously so close, but I've got to give the win to Forza and its consistency here. Alright, so category 2 was user experience. So this one will be a bit more quick fire bullet points between the two, but basically again, I'm just comparing how easy it is to play these games, how frustrating the menu navigation is, etc. And it's important here to bring up another mod for Assetto Corsa, probably the most popular, and that is Content Manager, a separate app that essentially completely revamps the way you play Assetto and makes the experience much faster and easier. Let's start this one off by comparing how quickly I can start driving in each game starting from the desktop. Let's do Assetto first. I'll boot up Content Manager, hit go, wait for it to load, and here we are. I just click this button and we're ready to drive. Now let's time Horizon 4. We've got the splash screen here. Some legal stuff. Animations for the devs and the publishers. And here we're at the start screen. Let's go ahead and hit start, and then continue, loading screen, now another animation. Gotta back out of these menus. Quick loading screen, and here we are. As you can see, if you just want to hop in and drive, Forza's whole boot up sequence is rough when you compare it to Assetto's, but now let's talk about how things are when you're actually in game. In Content Manager here, we can adjust the exact time of day for our race, the season, the exact weather pattern. All this can be adjusted mid-race too through the apps. Here's all the cars we have. Here's all the tracks. Assists are right here. I can jump into online lobbies through the browser here. And if I want to adjust game settings or maybe look at saved screenshots and replays, that's all right here. Content Manager, although it may look a bit busy and not as clean as Forza's UI, is just so fast, and once you learn it, incredibly user-friendly and customizable. I mean, in Forza, you can't even change the season or time of day in the open world, and in a race, you have to create a blueprint and then create another if you want another time of day or season, and it's a huge pain to get rid of old blueprints. Screenshots are saved in a completely different program, and you can't save and access replays nearly as easy as you can in Assetto. I could draw a lot more comparisons here, and it's worth noting that Forza's UI and menu navigation and all, it's all pretty, but it just isn't fast, intuitive, or user-friendly. My win here goes strongly to Assetto Corsa. Now, with one win each, let's move into category 3, the driving experience. Forza has what I feel to be a very strong physics model and one that's really enjoyable to play. I don't think there's a better model out there that manages to straddle the line between sim realism and arcade accessibility so damn well. The cars behave similar to real life and react realistically to tuning input. Different cars feel different and definitely take characteristics from their real life counterparts. Any racing fan can jump into Horizon and have a good time, and I truly think that their driving physics model is the major reason for the franchise's success. Now for Assetto, clearly much more of a simulation-focused game, and it nails it. I personally know a handful of real-life drivers that have practiced in Assetto before going onto the real-world track, and they killed it. Assetto feels real. There's slight issues and imperfections of course, but there is no denying that driving in AC will improve your real driving skill. As for accessibility, no, the typical novice won't be able to hop into a 1,000 horsepower track machine and lay down a good lap on their first or second try, but if you put them in a BRZ or a Miata and have them drive around the track, they'll do fine. Sim scares people away, and I get that. Some people just don't like it, but honestly, I don't think it's that much less accessible than Forza. A good Forza driver can take their knowledge and quickly adapt to Assetto. So for that mini category, I'm giving Assetto the win, but there's a few more aspects of the driving I want to touch on. Wheel support and VR support. Horizon's wheel support is bad. The game is clearly built for a controller, and while that's fine, it means that my full awesome sim rig gets put aside when I play Forza, and that sucks. Assetto, on the other hand, has incredible wheel support that is highly tunable and makes the game immensely more immersive and fun. As for VR support, obviously Forza doesn't have any. Assetto does, and although most gamers do not have a VR headset, for those that do, it is game-changing, and for me, I don't use this term lightly, life-changing. Racing in a full sim rig in high-fidelity VR with thousands of cars and tracks at my fingertips is an experience that is almost unmatched. For the driving experience, there is no contest. Assetto wins here. Now let's move forward into game variety and customization. This is another pretty quick-fire category. Forza has a lot of freedom. There's a big open world map to drive around in, plus the 2 DLC maps and over 700 cars now? Assetto Corsa though, well, it has more. There are thousands of mod cars out there, and hundreds if not thousands of maps, some of them open world and even bigger than Forza, although Horizon 4's map is much more densely packed with roads and stuff to do. Here's the trick though. In Forza, you can pick up any car, paint it any color, add any decals on it, change the rims, ride height, add aero, and completely customize the performance with things like drivetrain and engine swaps. In Assetto, what you see is pretty much what you get, and although most cars let you change between a handful of different liveries or paints, simple things like changing rims or adding more power are involved processes and require you to dive into some modding basics at the least. Now of course the possibilities there are limitless though. I mean, you can have anything you want. My cousin has his literal exact car modded into Assetto. Every aero piece, the rims, the interior, the sound, the power, it's all the same, and that is not possible in Forza. But it's also not that accessible in Assetto either. To talk about the gameplay variety itself, Forza lets you drive anything, anywhere in the map, which means you can take a slammed NSX and go mudding with it if you so choose. But like I was saying at the beginning of the video, you can drive an F1 car in the LA canyons in Assetto. There's a lot of freedom with both of these games, and honestly, for this category as a whole, it's a wash for me. I can drive my local track in Assetto, which I can't do in Forza, but I can build and drive my real car in Forza, and to do that in Assetto would require paying someone a lot of money to mod it in. I just can't pick a clear winner here, so let's move into our final category, fun. Now this one's, I feel, the most subjective, so I'm really not going to spend a lot of time arguing each game's case, but I will say right off the bat that for me, Assetto Corsa wins hands down. I have had experiences in Assetto that are unmatched in any other game. VR and good wheel support makes situations like cruising the Tokyo Highway network online or tandem drifting a mountain pass late at night with my buddy unforgettable experiences. If you're a car guy and you have the high budget needed for a good gaming PC, VR, and sim setup, You really owe it to yourself to experience this. Alright, but where does this leave us? In our 5 categories, for me, Assetto won 3, Forza grabbed 1, and 1 was a tie. So I guess to answer the question, for me anyway, no. Forza and other AAA games just can't compete with old modded sims like Assetto. But they don't have to. Each exists peacefully and I'm able to enjoy both. Obviously my experience with these games is limited and I just kind of compared 2 here, but the question is much bigger than that. I'm very curious to know how you guys feel about this. I'm sure you're going to disagree with me on at least some of these things, and there's so much that I just didn't even talk about. I mean, this is a big question. So let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.